Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a sociology Q&A, which is a compilation of all the questions that you guys have been asking me, as well as some frequently asked questions. So let's get on into it. So the first question I have is, did you do a BA or a Bsc? Which would you have rather done? Love your content, by the way. Thank you very much. I did a Bsc Sociology course at the University of Bath, and when I was looking into this, I was really confused as well as to which one I should do, whether I should do a BSc or if I should do a BA. And honestly, I don't think there's that much difference. It really depends on your university. So I'm pretty sure the courses at Oxbridge are BAs, but actually a lot of sociology courses are BScs. The main difference I would say is that BScs are probably a little bit more quantitative, so you'll do a little bit more like maths in terms of like research and research methods, but don't worry at all if your maths isn't good. Like I hadn't done maths since GCSE, so my maths was like very rusty by the time I got to university, and I was doing like Excel spreadsheets and stuff. But don't worry, they'll take you through all of that. They'll do a lot of workshops. So yeah, that was my experience at the University of Bath. But I would say like it's not as important what the title of the course is, it's more about the contents. And if you look at the modules on your university or the degree course that you're looking at for sociology, then they will be able to tell you a lot more about, the contents of the course and whether you think it's good for you. Second question is, I don't understand this whole sociology and social work thing, but can you get a job as a social worker if you get a degree in sociology? Yes and no. Yes, in that I know a friend who actually did a year of sociology before realizing that social work was more for her. So she actually switched to becoming a social worker student on the social work course. They're completely different things. And as a social worker, you need a qualification, a specific qualification. And a sociology degree doesn't give you that. Although obviously sociology does give you good understanding to, the theory and the broad principles of different perspectives on society. But as for an actual social work qualification, you'll need to do a course for that. Unfortunately, I can't provide like that much detail because I'm not a social worker. I don't know really what goes into it, but I can link some sources in the description box below. Okay, the third question that I have is, I absolutely loved your video and resonated deeply with it. I agree 1,000%, a lot of zeros. I would like to know what your experience was with fintech. How did you find out about the industry? What garnered your interest in even contemplating a job or position within the field? Sorry. What steps did you take to find a career in that field? Who did you communicate with? Who did you seek to form a part of your social network in this decision? Who did you talk to? I'd love to know your story. Now, this is a long question. Thank you for commenting this. This was on my video about careers in sociology, I believe, where I talked about how I'm in fintech at the moment in my industry. So I'm actually working at a fintech startup, and it's a peer-to-peer payment product with also e-commerce payment platform capabilities that we're working on. But firstly, to say like, how did I find out about the industry and the internship? It was actually completely by accident. Like I wasn't sure. I kind of was transitioning, looking at what UX design jobs there were, and I so happened to stumble upon this company somewhere. I actually cannot remember for the life of me where. But the job just sounded interesting, and at this point in my UX design career, I really just need experience, and therefore if there's a company that I can align with their vision and I'm interested in their product and what they're trying to do with it, and they can provide the experience that I'm looking at, I'm down. Right? Provide the experience that I want, then yeah, I'm going to take it. So it really depends on your perspective, what you need for your career, what you're looking for. So that's one of the most important things that I would say, like know exactly what you're looking for, or at least have a rough idea of your goals in your career. And what steps did you take to find a career in that field? So I signed up to a lot of different job sites, and I actually did a video on this, so check this out. But I'm also going to be doing a video soon about like applying to a job with me, so that will be quite interesting, I think. But my highly recommended job site is called otta.com, otta.com, and it's great. Highly recommend it. Really relevant job adverts, and the companies are pretty cool, so I would recommend signing up to that website. And yeah, I also created like a UX design Instagram. So depending on what field that you go into, social media is great for connecting with people. So whether that's like Twitter, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, find what is most relevant to your industry. You can do this with a quick Google and then maybe reach out for a coffee with someone, offer to pay for them because obviously you're taking up their time. So yeah, it really depends. Really long story. Sorry, really long answer to this question, but I hope it was slightly interesting. Because obviously as a sociology graduate, people are like, so what are you going to do? But my mission on this channel is to show you that sociology graduates can do anything that they like, within reason, of course. So yeah, hope that helps. The next question I have was, in your opinion, were you taught in an unbiased way? I think this was on my why you shouldn't do sociology video. So my opinion on bias and unbiased, it's very as humans, it's very difficult to remain unbiased, right? I'm talking to you here as a sociology student. Of course, I'm going to advocate for it because I enjoyed the subject. I enjoyed my course. I'm going to say, I loved it. I would recommend it. And because I'm a person, I can't be objective 100%. I can say that I'm trying to be objective, but in my heart of hearts, I know that I'm not being objective, and you probably know too. So there's really, in my opinion, there's no point in trying to hide your biases. And I actually appreciate it a lot more when my lecturers actually stated their standpoint. They stated their perspectives, their bias, their point of views, and they let us, take it or leave it, right? I would much rather that than someone trying to pretend that they're unbiased, but you can kind of tell. I feel like that's much more shady and manipulative almost to not say your standpoint point blank, if you know what I mean. Let me know what you think, because this is actually a major debate in sociology itself, which I stated in this video as well in my introduction in sociology. You might want to click here in the cards somewhere. I'll insert it. Whether you can be objective as a sociologist, this is most pertinent in research. So whether you can be objective or whether you will be biased. Hope that makes sense. Next question. So from my understanding, to be legitimately have a claim to the title sociologist, you need to have some sort of graduate degree in sociology, correct? MA or PhD. Yet when it comes to your career title, it's not always branded as sociologist. So someone could be working in the social sector with the title of program manager, but they can have a master's/MA in sociology. They could also classify themselves as a sociologist. So the question here is whether you have to have like a master's or a PhD, doctorate, whatever, to be able to call yourself a sociologist. Now, this is also like another debate almost, like what is legitimacy, right? What does legitimate mean? Who gets to decide what is legitimate, and what is their motive in classifying something as legitimate or illegitimate, right? So sorry to go on like a philosophical tangent almost, but it's actually quite important because, I wouldn't call myself a sociologist because I don't do it as like a career, but that's like my personal perspective. It's not really my job to say that you're fake unless like it's quite obvious that you're fake. Like, if you're a doctor and you don't have the qualifications, obviously I'm going to call you out. But if you say that you're a sociologist and I can see that you've studied sociology, I'm not going to call you out and say that you're fake when you're not doing an academic sociology career, if that makes sense. So yeah, you could classify yourself as sociologist, even if you're not doing a job that is strictly like sociology, but I don't see why you would. So yeah, that's kind of my answer. It's neither here nor there, but I hope that clears something up for you if you're interested at all. The next question that I got is actually something that's I want to do a video on, but I'm not sure if I should. So I'm including it in this Q&A. Can you recommend me some books to follow for our sociology undergraduate? I actually replied to this comment, but I thought I would say it here again, just for the benefit of all of you. So my perspective on reading books for sociology undergraduate, my honest answer is I didn't read that many books during my undergraduate career in the 3 years that I did sociology at university. And yeah, I kind of just relied on academic journals and things like that. I did buy a textbook in the first week of my first year at university, but did I touch it again? Not really. So I would say, like, don't stress about reading books. Just read the books that you think are relevant to you and you are interested in. Because at the end of the day, sociology is one of those things that, like, if you're not interested in it, you're not going to enjoy it. So you need to be interested and enjoy a certain topic area, and then you can read that. I actually have some books, I think, here that I can show you that I read that were interesting to me and maybe would be interesting to you. So I have one of the books that I read here. It's called The Shock Doctrine by Naomi Klein. It's really good if you would like to learn more about imperialism, colonialism, and its lasting legacy and all the events and like wars that have happened in the past like couple decades. It's really informative, opened my eyes, gave me a massive like different perspective on the world and imperialism and colonialism and all that stuff. So I would recommend this one. Another one I would recommend is by Owen Jones. It's called Chavs. You've probably heard of it maybe, but if you're interested in topics such as inequality, classism and like class inequality, that will be great for you. He writes in a really accessible manner, and I think you'll find it really interesting. All right, next question. Do you know any interesting topics that sociology covers? I like Myers-Briggs and Jung's theory of personality, but that's more on sociology. That's more on psychology, sorry. I'm just not really familiar with sociology. So the thing about sociology is that everyone thinks it's so easy because it's kind of common sense. It kind of is in a way. But the reason that is, it's because sociology covers topics that are in our everyday lives. It's so embedded into society that we don't notice it, like such as inequality, things like that we see as so normal because it's normalized to have, you know, people that are struggling when that shouldn't be the case. And that's the sort of thing that we tackle in sociology, like looking beyond what is common sense and getting to the root of it. Why is it common sense? Who says it's common sense? You know, like, who does it benefit for this knowledge, this type of knowledge to be common sense and normal? So in a way, sociology kind of like questions the reality of life. What we see as normal is not philosophical. Like, some parts of it can be, some of the theorists can be very philosophical. I stumble that word every single time. Hope it's not just me. But most of the time it's just really thinking about our perspective on life and society and, you know, how it affects others. So I think it's really interesting. So some topics that you will probably look at are like feminism, you know, inequality, things like that. But you can also look at social development, international development. That's more kind of like economics, but it's a bit sociological as well. I did a module on international development. I also did a module on gender, sexuality, and technology. That was really interesting. I did a module on the sociology of death, art and politics. So you can really see the breadth of topics that you go into. Check out the link in the description below for all the modules at the University of Bath for sociology. So yeah, that's kind of my answer for that. And then the next question I have is, hi, your videos have been really helpful for me since I was considering sociology. Thank you. I'm so glad they are. I want to go into the civil service as a government social researcher in the future, but they require substantial social research methods. 1/3 of the modules in the degree. Would you say sociology fits those requirements in your experience? Any answers would be appreciated. Yes, 200%. Sociology equips you with the tools and the knowledge for a social research role, whether that's in civil service or in the private sector, or in like charity or anything. So obviously you have the dissertation in your final year, which counts for a huge chunk of your degree. But you also have projects throughout the years that will prep you for this. And personally at the University of Bath, for year 1 and year 2, I had modules on research, like solely just on research. So research methods, quantitative and the qualitatives. So you'll get to practice all of these throughout your sociology academic undergraduate career before you go into the workforce. And if you say that you do sociology on your application, like, that's already proof that you have those skills. So hopefully that's helpful. Let's get into some FAQs before we finish. Now let's get into some FAQs. The first question that I get a lot, like literally all the time, is what jobs can you get with a sociology degree? Now, I partly answered this with the first question, the first few questions about like social work and stuff like that. But the breadth of careers you can go into with sociology is like, I don't want to say unparalleled, but in my opinion, unparalleled. I go into this a bit more in my careers that you can get with sociology degree here, where I go into like stats, salary, figures, and all of that. So check that out if you're interested in more like in depth, but I'll give you like a quick summary here. Some of my friends like went into HR, marketing. I kind of went into marketing. Now I'm in UX design. But you can also go into consulting, law, counseling, psychology. You can do further study. Those are the main avenues that I see people going into. But honestly, sociology is just like any of the other humanities subjects that you do. Like, you know, if someone does history as a degree, are you going to ask them, are you going to become like a historian? Like, no. They can do anything. They can go into consulting, like journalism, anything like that. So sociology really equips you with a lot of skills that you can transfer into other careers. And that is one of the most important things, transferable skills. Like just milk whatever transferable skills you have, like analytical thinking, critical thinking, presenting stuff, research. Those are all really important skills that employers look for. So definitely check that video out again if you're interested. Another question that I get quite a lot these days is recommendations for masters for sociology. Unfortunately, I can't really give you that much information on masters since I'm not a master's student. I haven't done a master's in sociology before or anything like that. But with what I know, masters with sociology is great because actually a lot of people from sociology go into further study, whether that is like training or qualifications for careers such as law, social work, counseling, etc. You can specialize in the areas that you're interested in. So you can specialize in more like gender studies, or you can do more like law, or, you know, social psychology, things like that, like really nitty-gritty topics that you are more interested in, you can go into for masters. So if you're interested in that, if you're interested in further study or research, I would recommend a master's. But if you're not sure what to do, I'm not, in my experience, the reason why I didn't do a master's is because I didn't want to do another year of education. Like I'm done with education for now. Maybe in the future I'll do like an MBA or something. I don't know. I'll see. But at the moment I can't stomach another year of education. So if you're like me and you're like, oh, I don't know what to do, but I don't want to do education, don't do a master's just for the sake of it. Like a master's is quite a lot of money. So unless you have money floating around, you know, I wouldn't recommend doing a master's just for the sake of it. And the last frequently asked question that I get is, where did you study? How was it? So I studied at the University of Bath for the Bsc Honours Sociology course between 2018 and 2021. So I actually just graduated this year. Here's me with my graduation gown thing after my ceremony was cancelled, which was great. But anyway, yeah, it was great. It was really fun. Unfortunately, 1.5 years was affected by, you know, the whole Panini situation. But all in all, the course was great. The people were fun. And yeah, it was a good time. Like, I have a whole playlist of videos about life at the University of Bath if you want to look at that. Some of the videos are quite old, but they kind of give you a better idea since I was actually in university when I did it. Of course I can talk from hindsight, but it's never going to be as accurate. But you know, overall it was a good time. I enjoyed it. The course was really, really interesting. I love that you could choose a lot of your optional modules. I even did like Italian for the first year. So yeah, that proves like how diverse your studies can really be. Yeah, so that's it for this Q&A video. If you have any other questions, drop them in the comments below, and I'll answer them or save them up for another video in the future. But yeah, if you want to see any more videos about sociology or life in general, click these videos here and I will see you in the next one. Bye.